Welcome everyone, my name is Gary and this is my presentation for module Innovative Thinking for Organization Development. First and foremost, I will introduce the topic of my project and provide you some background on why I chose this topic. We will then explore further by engaging some research on current problems and also generating feasible solutions to tackle the matter at hand. In this presentation, we will cover a contemporary problem faced by the environment in Singapore. Using problem-solving techniques, we will analyze the root cause of the problem and also explore how to solve or improve this problematic situation. To start off, my project topic is how to improve recycling efforts in Singapore. Let's start with a simple question. When was the last time you have recycled an item after consumption and it was in an appropriate manner? If you answer this question confidently, I am very happy for you and keep up the good work. According to the Ministry of Sustainability and the Environment, 40% of what we place inside the blue recycling bins are not suitable for recycling. That's because these items are either contaminated with food and liquids or made of materials that can't be recycled at all. Additionally, there is a lack of control on what type of waste goes into the recycling bins. Take a look at this instructional flowchart by the National Environment Agency. Some people may find this chart too long-winded or complicated to understand. Eventually, these people would discard all waste as general waste. To share with you a quote, while design thinking is simply an approach to problem solving, it increases the probability of success and breakthrough innovation. This was said by Sarah Gibbons, and the reason for highlighting this quote is to introduce a problem-solving technique called design thinking process, in short, DTP. The design thinking process consists of 6 stages, sequentially from understanding the problem at hand all the way to solution implementation. It is a structured holistic process which guides the user with clarity to problem solving. To kickstart the design thinking process, I employed a charting technique called a scope map, developed by Dr. Charlie Lim. It encompasses multiple key stakeholder areas to focus on, so that my problem solving can be relevant and direct. For my solution to succeed, success means all households recycle at least once per month. The change in existing solutioning is to implement color-coded labels on consumer products. The government, school, and media are the owners of this change. Citizens, waste disposal companies, and the National Environment Agency will make up the majority of people engaging in this effort. Last but not least, we can evaluate this solution by tracking increases in recycling activity, such as the aforementioned households recycling more than once per month, and also by testing school students on how to recycle. As the saying goes, two minds are better than one. But why stop at two? I gathered 3 individuals from different backgrounds to brainstorm on my initial scope map. Considering their input, we found out that my initial change of using color-coded labels need to be targeted to specific user groups, such as supermarket customers, for a higher chance of success. This is where I went back to do an iteration of my initial scope map. Highlighted in bold, you can see that I have added specific owners, people, and evaluation stakeholders into the scope map, namely supermarkets, grocery customers, and monthly recycling respectively. For my initial problem statement, I identified 2 key factors resulting in poor recycling activity in Singapore. Firstly, poor understanding of recyclable materials cause users to ignore recycling instructions. Secondly, ignorance also plays a part when users in Singapore are living in a fast-paced environment and environmental preservation is not a key concern to them. Hence, I derive at my initial problem statement of people in Singapore do not care about recycling and have no incentive to do so. In order to tackle the root cause of my initial problem statement, I employed the 5 whys technique developed by Sakichi Toyoda, whereby we ask why to a question sequentially for 5 times. Why do people in Singapore do not care about recycling? Because it is too troublesome. Why? Because products come in multiple shapes and material. Why? Because packaging is becoming complicated. Why again? Because consumers lack product knowledge. Why? Because there is a lack of outreach and education to customers. After identifying the root cause of the problem, I went back to do an iteration of my initial problem statement. People in Singapore are not recycling enough due to lack of knowledge and convenience. As we start with stage 1 of the design thinking process, I have to put myself in the user's shoes when it comes to recycling. I did some fieldwork where I found abundant recycling blue bins around my neighborhood, one bin for each HDB block. Instructions on how to recycle properly is also provided. However, I need to scan a QR code with my mobile device in order to do so. I was also interested in hearing alternative opinions on recycling. Hence, I created a short survey with 28 respondents on their behavior towards recycling. Looking at the results, it tells me that despite the abundance and accessibility of recycling bins, close to half of the respondents are not recycling often. However, when presented with an incentive, all of them would start recycling. To further support my survey results, I observed for 2 hours at my neighborhood to find out how often waste bins are used. Expectedly, the most commonly used waste bin was the general waste bin, connected by the HDB corridor common chute. Throughout the 2 hours, the recycling bins were not used at all. After following stage 1 of the design thinking process and using the information gathered, I proceeded to stage 2 of the design thinking process, where I came to a final iteration and definition of my problem statement. People in Singapore lack the motivation to recycle due to inconvenience. At stage 3 of the design thinking process, I partially adopted the scamper technique, where I substituted color labels on recycling bins to color labels on products instead. Next, I combined the idea of colored labeled products together with color labeled bins so that users are familiar with which bins to use for which products. This sample solution was a simple one, so I tested it in a form of roleplay with a few more individuals to gather feedback. The participants all raised the same feedback, where convenience had to be the key feature of my solution. They were not interested in finding out the respective color label on the product to be discarded, as many products nowadays are labeled extensively for other purposes, such as nutritional labels, composition labels, safety labels, and so on. The effort spent in clearing trash should be similar to the effort spent in recycling that is easy to follow. Going back to improve on my sample idea of color-coded products, I had my eureka moment while shopping at the supermarket. I observed the flow of goods when checking out at the cashier and scanning barcodes on my purchases. They were all unconsumed products. In a logical manner, if we were to return the product after consumption, the supermarket itself would be the last known contact point, with information on all products that flowed through them by scanning barcodes. This is where I came to a final iteration of my sample idea, a barcode-friendly recycling machine at supermarkets. As we move to stage 4 of the design thinking process, I sketched a low-fidelity prototype of my barcode-friendly recycling machine. As you can see from the outer view, a user can tap their rewards card to earn incentives, such as credit discount on purchases. Once the user is identified, they can begin scanning their consumed products for recycling return. Looking at the inner view of the recycling machine, as the user scans their products, the machine will use the barcode details to match the stock keeping units in its database, and a three-way lever will activate internally to direct the discarded products into its respective material compartment. When the user has completed scanning their returned products, the display screen outside will inform the user of the incentives credited to their account. Due to the high capital required to produce a physical prototype, I created a miniature model of the recycling machine to test out its feasibility. Moving on to stage 5 of the design thinking process, I can show you how the recycling machine works. Starting with step 1, a user will tap their rewards card, such as Passion Card, at the top right corner of the machine. Step 2, the user can start scanning their returned products on the left side of the recycling machine, with two areas specified for small and large products respectively. Step 3, The internal levers will open corresponding to the material scan and match to its database. Step 4. The lock flap, which acts as a control mechanism for unwanted waste, will open up to allow the user to discard in their return products. Step 5. The return products will drop into their respective material compartments. Finally, at step 6, the user can continue repeating the scanning and dropping process until completion. When the recycling machine detects a period of 5 minutes of inactivity, the flap will lock again and revert to step 1. While it seems like there are 6 steps to this solution, the users themselves are actually only doing 3 steps, namely scan, drop, and go. A very simplified yet useful solution to tackle the problem statement of inconvenience. Last but not least, at stage 6 of the design thinking process to implement my idea, I am in the midst of discussion with manufacturers to produce this recycling machine and with supermarket executives to kickstart this initiative. However, I have come up with an estimated monetization proposal to evaluate the business opportunity of this idea. One-time setup costs will encourage supermarkets to take up this idea. However, monthly maintenance costs are inevitable for the sustainability of this idea. To sum up this presentation, the design thinking process is a structured problem-solving technique whereby the final solution or product is realistic and solves problems directly with clarity. Multiple iterations greatly improves the initial solutioning idea with the help of unbiased feedback and testing. Further improvements to my idea can be done with a longer time frame, higher capital investment, and government support. Thank you for your attention throughout my presentation. If you wish to, you can contact me at the email provided below. Thank you and have a good day.